Welcome. It's Carcino here, and I would like to say thank you for all of you guys out there who subscribe to my page. Hopefully, some of you will get notifications. Those who are subscribed, many of you have not been getting them. Sorry about that. But we want to say happy birthday to the greatest NBA basketball player to ever live, Isiah Lord Thomas III. The last day of the month for the number one basketball player to ever lace him up and play the game. Better than any player that has ever done it. Isiah worked as hard as he could feverishly to make ends meet. And he worked on becoming the best NBA basketball player this world has ever seen. Isiah Lord Thomas III was exceptional. He never got the props that he truly deserved, but he won. And that's an example of anybody who's small going up against giants. He wouldn't relinquish anything, wouldn't give up no ground to anybody. And as much as they crown and they post up these other people, the name that stays above all of them. And they can never say they beat that guy more times than that guy beat them. It's Isiah Thomas. Isiah Lord Thomas III. That guy had it. That West Side Chicago in him. The youngest of 9. Isiah took care of his family. He took care of them. He brought them home. Tried to for as many as he could. Isiah's mother instilled education as the key for him. She wanted education. His brothers, they knew basketball was the way. Look, and education is good, but you got to be able to show on this court. But it was more than just playing the game. Others have played the game. Isiah could make it a show. Not everybody can do that. Not too many people can entertain and make basketball entertaining. Anybody can get a layup. Nobody can bring that excitement to the game like Isiah did. But the only game they'll show you of Isiah is when he injured his ankle and almost won the game he got robbed out of, which would have been a storybook ending for winning an NBA championship. A guy who went through the pain, adversity, came back and won the championship. The NBA screwed that whole story up for money. For money. Because of Vegas. A lot of you guys don't know that. That's why the ghost foul was called. That's why Kareem shot the free throws and everything else. Vegas. The Lakers were favored to beat the Detroit Pistons. They were the underdogs. They didn't care about the regular season. They shouldn't have been there. Should have been Boston. So now everybody's betting on The Lakers. Who is Detroit? So when the Pistons were smacking them around and they were like, oh my God, they finna lose. Vegas is gonna lose a lot of money because everybody from Detroit was betting on them Pistons. So the odds were too great for the Lakers for them to let the Pistons win. Vegas would have lost a lot of money. So they screwed them. Well, all I know is Isaiah has always been an example on and off the court. He's represented himself as a professional. He has been there for more athletes than Michael Jordan has. And Michael Jordan is an owner. Isaiah Thomas is part owner of the Toronto Raptors. He hired black coaches, black coaching staff. Brendan Malone, who was the former Piston assistant coach, he brought him along to be the head coach. He went out and drafted all of these players that Brendan Malone didn't want to or didn't think these guys could play. And Isaiah said, work with them, teach them the game. They will get better. Believe me, these guys have talent. And let's see who's really good and who's not. And Brendan Malone wanted to win right now and didn't care about playing those guys. And Stoudemire's like, what are we supposed to do? Lose every night? Because he want to play these guys? These guys aren't ready. But we're not going to be able to assess them if we don't play them. That's how Isaiah looks at it. We got to be able to evaluate the players. And Toronto Raptors are looking at it as a money and business thing. Like, let's just get wins. Let's just do this. We're not going to go to the playoffs. It's cool, but we're getting some wins under our belt. Maybe we get to the first round, get out, and then we'll pick up some veterans. We're a young team. Isaiah's trying to build a championship. He's not trying to, he want to know what talent he got so he can build around, like just like he got Damon Stoudemire. He want to build around Damon and put the right pieces there so they can have a championship team. He got Camby, he got Carlos Rogers. They were building a team. He was smart. Oh, that's a shame because as Isaiah is who you should strive to be like more than any of these other guys. No, we said the greatest to ever play the game. Isaiah's been great since about sixth grade. Sixth, seventh grade, he was the best player in the world. He won in grammar school. He won on the playgrounds. He won in high school, state champion. Won at every level. The most valuable player when he won the championship. He didn't have to win a game-winning shot. He was MVP of the entire tournament. It was Isiah Thomas. He was the best player in the Pan Am Games. He was the most valuable player in the Pan Am games. He didn't hit no game-winning shot while James Worthy got MVP. No, he was the MVP. That means he was number one, the best, the very best there was to do it. But let's look at him from an example of an executive. So they didn't want Isaiah to change the Pistons, Toronto, and he did. He fired Brendan Malone because Brendan wasn't listening, and he hired his man in there. What's his name? Darrell Walker. Darrell Walker, his former teammate from Chicago, Illinois, a black man, put him in charge, made him head coach. So Darrell Walker's out there. Ulysses, did you get a notification, or you just happened to find it? Because I don't think they sending them out still. Somebody I never seen before saying they got it. I know. It's terrible. We trying to fight to get everything that's supposed to normally work working. So anyway, Isaiah Lord Thomas III decided, since the organization don't want to go, they paid Isaiah. He got paid millions of dollars for his stake and his ownership in the Toronto Raptors. So Isaiah went to buy his own league. He bought the CBA. That's right. The man bought the CBA. Isaiah had a financial plan that could help the CBA be a major player in the game for Summer League. In case you guys don't know what the CBA is, the CBA is the basketball organization that happens, a smaller league that happens when the NBA season is over. Normally, they have small teams and they're sponsored by smaller, you know, companies, and they had their little leagues, and guys would participate and play in the CBA, and that was like the G League and all those things there. Now, here's the thing: a lot of lies are told. Isaiah bankrupt the CBA. It's a lie. It's always when a black man do something, they try to find a way to tarnish the black man. Isaiah bought the CBA for $10 million. A lot of people didn't know Isaiah had $10 million. So Isaiah spent $10 million and bought the CBA. Right? The NBA decided that they were going to. Isaiah had relationships within Detroit, outside of Detroit. So instead of having Bob's Chicken Shack being a sponsor to the team, you could have Ford Motor Company. That's huge. That's a lot more revenue. That can bring a lot more sponsors, car dealerships, Toyota, and all these other dealerships. That's big money, almost double what they've been making. The NBA saw this as a threat. The NBA decided, we don't need this because Isaiah could come here and mess all this up for us. We're coming out to compete in the summer and having G leagues. We know the NBA has G leagues. So if the NBA is going to compete with the CBA, game over. That's like the ABA versus the NBA. They absorb the ABA. Did they say, oh, the black man and all them, they ruined the ABA? No, they can compete. Same thing. Isaiah, they was borderline bankrupt once he bought it and he was going to revive it. But once the NBA decide they're going to compete in summer league by making their own summer leagues, it's game over, baby. So he sold the CBA to the NBA. So therefore, he wouldn't lose all of his money. Smartly, this is what you do. Everybody take their care package, and then it's over. And they was like, "Ah, I hate this guy." The NBA hated Isaiah Thomas. Why? Isaiah Thomas was the president of the NBA Players Union. All the players made a lot of money because of Isaiah Thomas. If he wasn't the one, think about what they did up until 1994 when he turned it over to Buck Williams. Isaiah is the reason that the agents weren't getting as much money. He said agents shouldn't be getting as much. The players should not be paying the agent this much money. And they voted and agreed that the agent's money got reduced. The agents hated Isaiah. Now, the agents hated him because they got less money. You see, this is why he said it on the show. He was voted unanimously through by all the players. Unanimously, he was voted because he was making them money. Being the president of basketball operations, because all of them was dumb as rocks anyway. It was probably like 5 of them who had sense. No one could sit down in there in the office and negotiate, just like Chris Paul. Chris Paul is the perfect guy to be president of basketball operations. I mean, not president, but the players union. He's the perfect guy you will get to rep the players union. Yeah. So he took the deal and got his 10 million back when he took a $10 million coaching job for the Indiana Pacers. Now, Bob Knight and Donnie Moss made that happen. Larry Bird left the position thinking that they were going to hire Rick Carlisle, his assistant coach, to take his place. Larry Bird didn't want Isaiah to have that job. He wanted Rick Carlisle and thought Carlisle would be better to coach than Isaiah. Isaiah is good at bringing talent and judging talent. So even though Donnie was in the job as the general manager and Isaiah was the coach, Isaiah basically was general manager and coach of the Indiana Pacers. He's the reason they went and got Jermaine O'Neal, got Ron Artest, Brad Miller, and he changed the Indiana Pacers, who had lost everybody. Rick Smits retired. They went to the NBA Finals, and like right after that, Larry was gone. Larry's like, I'm done. This was it. This was my last ride. So after that, he just basically gave up on the team. So they were a whole new team. Rick Smits retired, and the Davis boys, they were moving on. So they were a whole new team, young, and they just didn't get a chance to gel. And once they were getting better, you start seeing how great Ron Artest was as a defender. You got Jermaine O'Neal on there, who Isaiah got. They had Brad Miller as their center. They got both of them from Chicago, and Isaiah was making moves. He knew what he was doing and what he was building on while he was there. He was building a champion. And he said, had I stayed there, we would have won a championship. And he was dead honest about all of it. Because 9/11 happened right when Bird fired Isaiah. Bird became general manager, fired Isaiah, hired Rick Carlisle, who he wanted to take the job. Then Isaiah ended up coming back being president of the New York Knicks. Okay. So now we with the Knicks. Now, as the president of basketball operations for the New York Knicks, what did Isaiah Lord Thomas III do? Hmm. Let's see. Because a lot of people said Isaiah ruined the Knicks. I heard that lie too. Hmm. Okay. Let's see. The New York Knickerbockers. Let me see if we can pick up the Knicks. See they little rosters. I'm trying to think. What year was it that Isaiah came there? I don't matter. I'll find it. Well, a lot of things took place at that time because remember I told you Donnie Walsh was the guy that hired Isaiah when he was in Indiana. Donnie Walsh retired and stepped down in Indiana, and then Larry took over and he fired Isaiah. So Isaiah came in the middle of the 2003-2004 season. Okay. Now, they won how many games? They won like what, 39 and 43. And Isaiah came there in the middle of this. So when he got there, it was a mess. Okay. So the year before he got there, the 2002 2003 season, right? Here was your starting lineup. You had Shandon Anderson, Howard Isley, Allen Houston, Michael Dolick. You had Spreewell, Kurt Thomas, Charlie Ward, Travis Knight, Clarence Witherspoon. You had Frank Williams on the team, Lee Nalen, and Labor Postal. Okay, they were 37 and 45, sixth in the Atlantic Division. The 02-03 Knicks was a complete disaster. Now, bring in Isaiah. He comes in halfway into the season, sharing the duties with Scott Layden and him as the executives. Don Chaney's there, Herb Williams, Lenny Wilkins. All of these guys were in between. They end up firing Chaney halfway through and then going on to Lenny Wilkins when Isaiah took over. So they ended up 39 and 43. But let's look at what the team looked like now. Isaiah comes in and immediately moves are made. Okay? You got Antonio McDyess on the team, Stephon Marbury, Allen Houston, Anthony Hardaway, Mutombo. Hold on. Who else they got on there that Isaiah brought over? Shannon Anderson got brought over. Keith Van Horn got brought over. Clarence. Well, Spoon was still there for temporary before they started trading people out. And they picked up Tim Thomas. So you had Tim Thomas on the team with Nazir Muhammad, Antonio McDyess, Stephon Marbury, Allen Houston, Penny Hardaway, and you mad at Isaiah Thomas and said he ruined the Knicks? Are you out your minds? You went from having bums the year before, and he's there a half a year, and he already got you an acceptable team that could vie for the playoffs. Already. Not to forget, he got you under the salary cap. You guys were way over the cap. You guys were paying Larry Johnson for 12 years. His contract he was getting paid money for years by the Knicks, just stealing money because of his back injury insurance. So the 04-05 season, Isaiah's taking over. They're 33-49, fifth in the division. Herb Williams ended up taking over as head coach. Lenny Wilkins steps down and retires. Now, look at the team this year. They got Malik Rose, Nazir Muhammad, Stephon Marbury, Jermaine Jackson, Allen Houston, Penny Hardaway, Jamal Crawford, Vin Baker, Trevor Ariza, Shannon Anderson. And you blaming Isaiah? He got you the players. As an executive, he got you the players. You can't win with that lineup. People memories are bad. See, the lie, we did a thing I told you. The lie lasts longer than the truth. The lie lasts longer than the truth. So the next year, it became a major disaster. Larry Brown takes over, and he just the whole team just shut down on him. Matt Barnes was there. Trevor Ariza, Jamal Crawford. They had Eddie Curry. They had Antonio Davis. They had Steve Francis, Penny Hardaway, Marbury, Channing Frye, David Lee, Quentin Richardson, Nate Robinson. You got about 10 to 12 players that could play. Now, at this time, Penny's about done. But still, you got him on the team. You got a team. But Marbury ain't getting along with the coach. Then Isaiah and them, they're getting into it. So the next year, Isaiah coaches because of the Larry Brown incident. All the coaches are going against Isaiah because Larry Brown is like very popular in the coaches community. They fire him and don't pay him any of his money. They found a way to violate his contract and they didn't pay him. So everybody was trying to go out and run the score up on the New York Knicks and really beat them into the ground. So Isaiah was the head coach and the executive in 06-07. They finished fourth in the Atlantic Division as Marbury and Isaiah didn't get along. He wasn't performing well. Him and Jamal Crawford situation wasn't working out. They got Cato on the team, Jared Jeffries, David Lee, still had a team. Nate Robinson was starting to shine, but it was just not working out. The very next year, they were 23-59 again. Isaiah was the coach, and him and Donnie Walsh was splitting the executive positions as Donnie Walsh took over. Then it became the Mike D'Antoni's turn with him and Donnie Walsh. Isaiah was gone. And the Knicks sucked all into 2010. So they sucked for 2, 3 more years until they at least start winning 40 games. And that's when they got Melo. The first year they got Melo and Chauncey Billups is when they started turning things around. And they won 42 games. It was 42-40. Then they went back down to 36-30. Then they had their biggest year when they won 54 games, when they had the right coach in there, Mike Woodson, and they had Glenn Grunsfield. Grunwald. Then Grunwald was gone. So just that quick, and that's why I say Donnie Walsh came in there and stayed for about 2 years, and then Grunwald came in. Glenn Grunwald came in for 2 seasons, and when he came there into 2012, they won the 54 games. Grunwald left, and Phil Jackson came. That was the end of the New York Knicks. That had nothing to do with Isaiah. So anybody want to say Isaiah? If it wasn't for Isaiah, you wouldn't have had the cap money to bring Carmelo Anthony over. He had the cap space, made the contracts acceptable to where people can bring them over. I'm not wrong on this, bro. I'm 100% correct. Now you guys want to talk about the lawsuit. Ooh, because it's supposed to make him look bad, right? An employee that used to work there wanted a relationship with Isaiah Thomas, tried to get money. She was about to be fired. He didn't want her. She lied, went to court, and got paid a settlement by Donnie, the owner, because they just wanted to keep this thing quiet. And she won her lawsuit or whatever. They could have kept fighting it. They just didn't even want to deal with it. So they paid her just to just go away because it wasn't a lawsuit. And said Isaiah called her the B word. And he probably did because she deserved it. She came there for a shakedown, and that's what she did. She just shook them down for money. It was all lies, all lies. And Isaiah ended up having to step down. Mm-mm. Nope. No, Isaiah didn't pay her. The owner of the Knicks paid. What is you talking about? Dolan came out and said, I paid her. But they always want to tarnish this man's legacy. Have you noticed that? I've never seen a team win 2 NBA championships and gotta basically apologize for winning 2 NBA championships. Don't you find that a little strange? Isaiah was found liable by a jury. So who you think had to pay that? The owner of the New York Knicks. Isaiah didn't have to pay a dime. As black men, I am rooting for the Detroit Pistons. They are a small team who came up and did the impossible. They ruined the glamour party for the Los Angeles Lakers. And the Magic Johnsons, the Larry Birds, and the Michael Jordans. They weren't picked, and they beat the system. And now everybody wants to punish them for it. He was the greatest player to ever play the game. He was the smartest one on the court. I showed you guys on the end. I wish I could show you here. All he did was win and beat them more than they beat him. That's why Michael Jordan is still mad. He got $1 billion and he hating because it burdens him inside that he couldn't beat Isiah until that last time. Yeah, Scottie Pippen clothesline Bill Laimbeer. Right, you're right. That wasn't great for the game. But did we cry about it? Nope. We got up and did something about it. Because that's what you did. We didn't sit around crying and whining. We had to actually do something. It ain't our fault the Bulls were soft. Charles Barkley and his team, they were soft. They weren't good enough. They tried to be physical, but they didn't know how to be. Over there, you gotta call your family because you don't know if you're gonna live to see the next day. They were trying to hurt people out there. The only thing hurt is your feelings. You Michael's buddy, so you want to kiss up to Mike. Mike don't even want to talk to you no more, Chuck. He's still mad you told the truth about him. Do they bring up Michael Jordan's resume of being a general manager when he was in Washington? When he drafted Kwame Brown with the #1 pick in the draft? Do they bring that up? Do they bring up the fact that he has ruined the Charlotte Hornets and traded away Kemba Walker for what's his name? Everybody's hero from Boston? He gave away Kemba Walker for who? He traded Kemba Walker. Scary Terry. That's right. Uncle Frank, no. Right. Hey, how you gonna tell a man to leave it alone who didn't bring it up? The man defended himself. So how's Terry Rozier working out in Charlotte? He's cheap, low rent basketball player. He wanted more playing time. Oh, he got it. People like he should be playing besides Kyrie. I actually heard people say that stupidity. I'm like, okay, he's playing now. You happy? He traded away Rip Hamilton so he can get more shots. Got Jerry Stackhouse in there, and Stackhouse wanted to kill him too. Isaiah never kissed no Magic Johnson in the mouth, man. Michael Jordan just was kissing on Doug Collins on TV. I saw that in the documentary. I don't hear you talking about that. Nah, they kissed each other on the side of the cheek. The same way he did Mark Aguirre too. But they don't ever show that. They brothers, man. They family. They didn't kiss each other on the mouth. Isaiah is the greatest NBA basketball player. He's the greatest human mind I've ever seen. I'm just glad to see him recover his life back. Because for a while, it seemed like he was the coach of a college basketball team in Florida, and he just didn't seem like he was in the right place. And he finally got brought back to where he's supposed to be. I see him on NBA TV now. He's back. He's back. He's back to seeing Isaiah again. He's got his Sherilyn champagne, and he's bringing that to a whole new plateau. And that thing is going to blow up and make him millions. And I'm all happy for it. So happy birthday to the greatest basketball player, the greatest mind that has ever played that game, the one who inspired me to pick up a basketball and play that game. The one and only Isiah Lord Thomas III. He's more respected by every basketball player in the world more than Michael Jordan. Because Isaiah was teaching. He was a teacher. You see those other players, they call him coach. They yell out, coach. All of them was in his basketball camps. They remember his camps. They remember what he did. And this was the generation before him. He was, man, I still am amazed. He's like, when he do the bullet dribble, when Isaiah do the bullet dribble, you literally couldn't catch it. He can go so fast with a basketball. It's a blur. It's like a blur. They weren't allowed to do that then. Isaiah could teach the game, and he taught it. Michael Jordan can't teach what he do. You can watch him and mimic him, and that's what Kobe did. And we're going to get into that a little later. So, because his 2 rings, he beat Magic, Bird, and Jordan to get 1 ring. He beat Jordan, Patrick Ewing, Clyde Drexler, and Reggie Miller to win the 2nd one. Who Mike beat? No, Magic got hurt during the finals. They did better when Magic didn't play no more. He got hurt in game 2 when they were down 20. They got blown out the first game. They were getting blown out in the second. And then he got hurt. And then they came back. And then Worthy missed the free throw. So it came down to the free throw. Then he played in game 3, and they were getting beat up, and they had to sit Magic down. He couldn't run. Zeke played with 1 leg in the game when we was finna win a championship. Believe me, it was better for him because Joe Dumars was tearing his face off. Magic couldn't guard. It was a matchup problem for him. It was a matchup problem every time Magic played against them. That's right. Rest in peace, Miss Mary. Mary Thomas. Black Bolt. Just because you are caught into the brainwash. So let's see who did Mike beat to get his championship. He beat when they won that year, I think they beat Barkley. They beat the Pistons. I don't know who else they beat. And they won against the Lakers when Magic had HIV. So Magic, he started feeling the symptoms in like game 2. So let me see. Oh, the Knicks. Okay, so they beat the 76ers, the Knicks, with Ewing. Then they beat the busted up Pistons. So the Pistons was broken down. They beat Charles Barkley team sucked. So they were no competition. They beat what? Thump and Bump. That's what killed me about Barkley. He gonna talk about all that nonsense, man. I'm getting on him tomorrow too, because he shouldn't open his mouth about the Pistons either. So I'm gonna get on him. Yep. So Charles gonna get it tomorrow. They didn't even send y'all the notification to my last video that I did. That made no sense. The next year, who did the Bulls beat in the playoffs? Ooh, they beat the Knicks. The Knicks, I think, had them that year. That's the year they went 7 games with the Knicks because Scottie Pippen was scared. Um, yeah, and they beat the Portland Trailblazers that second year. Third year, they beat the Barkley Phoenix Suns. Then everybody else was just bums at that point. They were the only team left. Everybody was like a hybrid team at that point. I've never lost a playoff game, Ken. I've never lost an NBA Finals. So I'm already better than LeBron. I've never lost a playoff game, and I never lost the NBA Finals. Oh, the Patreon is on fire, even right now. Tomorrow I'm really letting loose, but I hit y'all with something great today. I mean, if you on the Patreon, you already know. Shoot, a chick tried to cut a dude's you know what off. A pro fighter. His wife tried to cut his, you know what off. Woo! I was painful to type. Real painful. John Sally, man, John Sally say anybody to go. Next week he'll say it's Isaiah. The next week he'll say it's LeBron James. Next week, John Sally, look, Sally too busy getting high, doing coke. You know, you can't take Sally. Sally's a party guy, man. Sal's been out the game for a minute. He can care less about any of this stuff. Yeah, we were broke down. Do you see how many years we kept doing it and going back and going back? Michael wasn't past Isaiah. Why do you think Michael? I explained to you why Michael isn't better than Isaiah Thomas as a basketball player. I've done that. I've told you. Do you need to hear it one more time? Of course, he look high. He sells weed. He's one of those people doing the dispensaries. You think he ain't sampling the products? He been sampling the products ever since he been in Miami. He's like, I do. I didn't hear it. I know that is not my sister. My sister who won't call me or text me, that cannot be her here. At 11 o'clock at night, she must have been working. Let me tell you why for the last time. Isaiah already had the knowledge at that time before Michael got it. Well, thank you for going on live. I don't know how or why or how you even here right now. But how you doing? Did you take the dog back yet? Or you still got the dog? I guess he gone. I'm subscribed and I still have them. Oh wow, I can't believe you even still have a page. I love you too. Good night. I can't believe she got a notification. That's a shock. See that? I gotta talk to my sister on my live stream. Only way I can talk to her. She too busy for me. She's famous. But anyway, this is why he's better than Mike. Isaiah makes other people better. Michael could not. He didn't know how to do it. All he could do, all right, Coco, all Michael would do was try to force things. He wouldn't trust his team. Sounds just like Kobe Bryant, right? Mike would go out and try to force it every night. And he'll have 45. He'll have what, 39, 48, and they'll lose by 20. They'll lose to Isaiah and the Pistons by 20 points. And Micah had 45. He had 37, 38. And you're like, man, Mike doing all this, he need help. If you're not using the people that are there, then you might have help and don't even know it. But it's because he didn't figure the game out. And see, I've been telling y'all that for years, and Isaiah sat there and told y'all right on the screen. Michael haven't figured out how to use his team. Once like it got to like 91, 92, he started to relax, use the team a bit. He was able to use his range, use angles, and don't fall into the traps and the pitfalls that they are setting for him. The Pistons set him up to go into traps. And Michael would just go into traps and try to force things to happen. And he made some miraculous shots doing that. But while you're doing that, you're actually hurting your team. Because, yeah, you might get one or two of those to go. But on the other end, your guys are just standing around. So when it comes to defense, they're always on defense. They're not communicating. And you can't guard five. So it's like our five versus you. Because that's what it becomes. Then when you look up at the beginning and you look up at the end and you see that you've lost by 20 and you got 37, 38 points. Now an idiot would be like, man, Michael Jordan killing, man. Look at his stats. But he's losing. You see what I'm saying? So he's not making anything better. He's just scoring some points. They can care about less about that. They're winning. You see, this is how winning is done. This is how winning takes place. Yeah, somebody who eventually learned versus somebody who already was doing it. Which one I'm going to go with? I'm going to go with the guy that knows and is the smartest guy on the court because he's the better player. Isaiah was always smarter. That's why he knew. Once Michael figured it out, he was like, oh, wow. Now you saw Mike. And when you start seeing Mike win those championships, he was getting the same points. He's getting 30 a night. He's like, I'm getting 30, 35, 36, and I don't have to kill myself to get it. It's easy. By the time 96 was there, he was getting 30 and didn't even have to try. He really didn't have to try to get 30. It was just there. He ended up with like 32, 33, and he don't even feel like he broke a sweat. That's using your team. That's getting smarter. That's learning the game. Mike had to evolve to that. Isaiah had leadership qualities day one. That is the difference between somebody who came in and was most valuable player in college, being the point, the general, and bringing that knowledge to the game. Plus, who could guard him? You couldn't stop Isaiah. I don't have to have Lambeer talking points. We all gonna sound the same because we already know. Isaiah Lloyd Thomas III, the greatest basketball player to ever walk on a court. People love to hold on to the lie. But remember, Isaiah beat Magic, Bird, and your God, Michael Jordan, more times than they've ever beaten him. So what you got to say about that?